Welcome to the Wise Women Podcast and our debut season, Wisdom's Discovery, Finding Your Center at the Edge. Because some moments in life call us to our edge and then beckon us to expand beyond it. In this season, we dive into the shared experiences of 20 remarkable women. And through honest conversation, we explore together the moments that shape us, stretch us, undo us, and ultimately return us to ourselves. I'm Katherine Jelinek, and this is the Wise Women Podcast. Hello, everyone. It is my pleasure to get to welcome Abby Anderson, EOS implementer and artist. She painted that beautiful mural you can see behind her and so much more, I can imagine, but I really do love that, Abby. It's really cool.
Thank you.
Yes. So thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So where does your story begin?
So I would say my story begins in my pseudo office upstairs in my house with 3 crazy boys and my husband, and a day when I just realized that the way that I felt in my body was not working, and I felt like I was on fire and everything ached and something had to change. And that day I called my boss. I was working a corporate job in mergers and acquisitions for a financial services firm. And I called my boss and said, my whole life, I've overridden what my body is telling me. And for the first time ever, I need to listen to my body. And I'm giving you my 2 weeks notice. I can't do this anymore.
Oh.
So I'm like, that's my edge. That was probably one of my biggest edges that I've hit.
And what was the edge about it? Like, what was the hardest part for you?
The hardest part was that I had hit a great point in my career where felt like I was doing a lot of things that I was good at. I really liked doing. I had achieved milestones in terms of like income I wanted to make. By all standards, I had arrived. I should have felt, like I had arrived, like I was there, like I made it. I felt the opposite. I felt terrible. And the scary part was, I'm really going to give this up with no plan, too. That was the thing. I did not have a plan. I just knew I couldn't do what I was doing. So the edge was jumping, right? Doing it scared, having no plan, but just trusting myself and the messages my body was sending me.
Did you actually feel scared, or what was the feeling that you had in that moment of edge?
That's a really good question. I felt scared leading up to it. And then as soon as I spoke it to my boss, I felt so much relief.
Wow. Okay. So how did you get here? You know, what's the backstory on how you were led to a point where you're pretty much, your body, as you said, is on fire and screaming to you?
Yeah. That's a great question. So I'm like thinking about how old I was. I think it was about 39 when this happened. So obviously all of my experiences up until then led me to that, right? But a couple key things I think are that I spent a lot of my life not being aware that my body, how I felt, my feelings were just as important as those around me.
Yeah.
And I'd spent so much of my life sort of people pleasing or trying to achieve something, trying to be somebody who I thought everybody wanted me to be or the world wanted me to be. And in that process, I wasn't checking in with myself to see if I was becoming the person I wanted to be, or that my body, my nervous system wanted and needed, right? So like that messaging to my boss of like, I had literally spent 39 years overriding any fear, anxiety, tension, stress in my body. And I just pushed through because I thought that's what you did. And then there were coaches, bosses, friends, people along the way who helped me uncover that was not, you didn't have to live like that. It also wasn't healthy, and that I could choose different. So I'm like, what parts of that? Like I could go into so much of that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out what would be the most helpful pieces
Well,
to like dig into there.
in our pre-conversation, you took me back to your childhood. I think that that was
Mm.
really fruitful because I could feel the relate, even if it was a different scenario. So take us back to like your childhood and really like how you were formed in this way of feeling like you needed to take care of others and consider what they were feeling first.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. So I grew up, I'm the middle of five kids, and my mom and dad are wonderful humans. My dad, from most of my childhood, was a recovering alcoholic. My older brother died when I was 18 months old. He was three. My older sister was five. So I'm like, all of that to say, I was a baby in a household with a grieving mom and dad, a dad in recovery and doing a lot of work on his own addiction and childhood traumas, right? So I was starting to become more aware of how in tune I was to everybody else's feelings and what was going on. And how, from a very young age, I had just adapted to the situation and tried to bring joy and tried to bring laughter into situations. I obviously was not even conscious of it, but I'm sure having sort of a sad mom, I don't even know what my sister was feeling, but as you can see, like there was a lot there. So I think it goes back to there of like, I don't really remember growing up thinking about me and what I wanted. It was just kind of like, okay, so we've got a room and they're fighting over there. And then she's sad. All right, let me go make her feel better. And then I'm going to see how I can help diffuse the situation over there. But I
Mm,
was just constantly trying to shape and mold the vibe of rooms.
it's a lot of work to do as a child.
Yeah. Right. And I'm like, looking back, I thought I had a great childhood, right? I'm like, I had my recollection of it is so loving and fabulous. But as I've done therapy and as I've done work on it, I've realized how ingrained those behaviors are in me that I wasn't even aware of them. A therapist,
Picking up emotionally and holding,
totally.
agreeing. Yeah.
Not, but when you grow up that way, I didn't even really think it, and there was another way. And I remember having a therapist say to me, okay, so a healthy situation is that you walk into a room and you have, like, let's say one radar looking out, and that radar is kind of assessing what's going on in the room. And then we want to have another radar that's looking back at us saying,
Mm,
how am I feeling? Like, how's this, is this stressful? Do I want to walk into this situation? What's going on with me? So checking in with me while also scanning the room. And she's like, you walk in and you've got two sensors out and you are just assessing and taking in what's going on in the room, not looking back to check in with yourself. And that was, I'm still like, my mind is still blown by that because I'm much more aware of it now. But I'm like, you have so perfectly described how I have operated until now.
yeah, I see that. Wow.
So that I think the fires and the stuff, everything in my body and the energy of taking on a lot of that, almost creating that same scenario for myself in a corporate career, just because that's what I knew.
Mhm.
Was like my body couldn't do it anymore. My nervous system was just shot.
And you gave me a little more full context into your work and how that energetically paralleled your growing up, but give that to us here.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was a journey of getting there, but my most recent corporate career was in mergers and acquisitions for a financial services company. So a lot going on. I guess I would describe it as I was the bridge between the companies that we were buying and our corporate center. And I would help merge those firms onto
Mm,
our larger platform. So I'm dealing with typically older men who've built these businesses and are probably nearing retirement.
mm.
And this is sort of their succession plan. So even in my mind, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm surrounded myself with people just like my dad. They had a lot in common with him. And I was coming to them at a time when they were looking to me for direction on how to better integrate into the firm. They were also dealing with their own emotions around selling their firm.
Yeah,
And there
they're
was a
babies.
lot of, right? There was like a lot of grief in that, like,
Mm.
you know, that loss of identity. ego. And here I am kind of trying to keep both parties happy. Like, I
Oof.
understand my dad built a business too. So I totally understand what it's like to sell that business and give up that identity. At the same time, I know the people who are paying me and writing the checks to me are the people who are wanting me to get this firm smoothly integrated into our larger platform. So not always aligned. So I just like picture myself turning from one side to the other, trying to make everybody happy and feeling like the punching bag in the middle.
Mm,
And just doing that over and over and over again for 2 years. Parts of me loved it. Like, I kind of get a high off of it, and it took a toll. And I got to the point where I couldn't do it anymore.
there you are with your two radars, and they're pointing in different directions this time, but they're not at you.
That's another great, I never thought about it like that. But yes, it was like, what do they want? What do they want? Okay, how can I make this work?
How can I be what they need?
Yes. Yeah.
And weave in what you learned over time. And when was it where you were attending AA with like, to be in support and to learn, and you were able to kind of put new language around some of the things you were experiencing, even if it wasn't right yet time for you to step away from your work?
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great question. So I knew, I mean, growing up, my dad always did an amazing job with his recovery. Like Al Anon, him going to Al Anon was a huge part of our life. We saw him leave for those meetings, and he always made time for them. And my mom as well doing AA. So for the people who live with addicts or alcoholics. And so I knew that my mom had always said things like that would be good for us to go to as kids too, just to get like education support around what it looks like to live with alcoholics. And so my dad relapsed, I want to say like 5-ish years ago or something. I was an adult, and I started attending AA meetings. I was like, oh yeah, my mom does this. I should do this. I need to learn more about it. And around that time, I also read the book Adult Children of Alcoholics. And I was like, my God, this just described my life, my childhood. So I started to really learn through those meetings, which I'm like are just life lessons. Like, these are just
Yeah.
life skills, but that understanding and awareness of the person that you're living with and what they're going through, and sort of appreciating it and understanding it, but also keeping it separate from you. And then knowing that you needed to care for yourself and be in tune with your own emotions, feelings, and needs, and not just adapt to whatever they needed.
Uh,
And that was really actually unhealthy for both of you, right?
God, I just wish this is so valuable. Like, if we
Yeah.
just knew to sign up for it for a lot of reasons,
I'm like, can we teach this in high schools?
just teach it to
Like,
everybody.
yeah, it was just listening to people share their stories, right? Of like allowing whoever the addict was in their life. It could have been a friend, it could have been a parent, a child. So all different connections, but really keep like allowing them to be them and not take that on, not feel like what they're choosing or not choosing is any reflection of me, nor do I have any control over it. All I have control over is me,
Mm,
how I show up, how I take care of myself. So that was also like an edge for me, I guess, of getting to that point, listening to others through Al Anon, and also seeing my dad almost through a different lens and this imperfect human. That was really such a gift. Like, I felt like I was able to allow him to be himself and imperfect and love him, and know that I should trust myself, listen to myself, and go focus on me. That was really all I could control
that would in the end be the better thing for everybody.
for everyone. Totally.
I just feel like our generation is learning this right now. Like,
Totally. I
was
do
not
too.
internalized.
Exactly. That's when I'm like, I mean, when you know better, you do better. So I'm like, we can't go back and change it, but I see how powerful it is when we don't obsess about controlling the people around us, and we just let them be and love them in the best way that we can. But in order to do that in a really healthy way, we have to know how to love and listen to ourselves.
Uh-huh. And to protect and care for ourselves. Yes, yes. better and easier to like feeling compassion for I feel a lot of for your young self, because
Yeah.
being able to do that though in a household where you're living with them and that energy is the energy in the room that you're in, like it's
Yeah.
different than when we're adults. It's different and we're more able to like protect and self,
Totally.
soothe, and how hard that would and is if you're in that regular space with
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
My mom would tell me, I remember her telling me when it kind of hit and started to click that like who I was at 18 months shaped who I am now.
Yeah.
Is that she's like, sometimes she's like, you were just the sweetest, when I would fall to the floor just sobbing sometimes, as you can imagine, a new mom with 3 kids who just lost a 3-year-old. And she's like, and you would always come up to me and just smile and love me and say, it's okay, mama. It's okay, mama.
Oh,
And I'm like, she gets emotional saying that. And my body tingles just thinking about it. I'm like, and that's where I get it. I'm like, that's,
yeah. You were that way right away.
yeah,
But how could you not be?
totally. That's the thing. I'm like, oh, yeah, it is a gift in many ways too, right?
Mhm.
It is
There's
what's
a side
got
of it
me to
that's superpower. Yeah.
totally. I'm like, it's gotten me to where I am. So I mean, it just is what it is. I
And
didn't
then,
think,
so now, though, adding the superpower of listening to yourself to the
yes,
spidey sense of what people need around you.
yeah,
Like, one of the questions I asked before we hit record, but I would
yeah,
love to dig into more, is so now, like, the chapter after, right?
yeah.
Where you've stepped aside, you're listening to your body, you're trusting yourself. What happened then? And then for so many of us who are recovering people pleasers, right? Like,
Yeah.
how did you not just perpetuate the thing one more time in a new scenario, you know?
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. That was so, like I said, I quit my job with no plan. Like I had
Yeah.
no idea what I was going to do next, but I was learning to trust myself enough that I'm like, I can figure this out. And so I really sat back and was just like, first, I need to get rid of this because I can't think about what's next. That was sort of the point for me, the edge too, of like, I wish I could be that person who worked a job and found something else while I was working that job. In the position that I was in, it was so all consuming and I didn't know how to do it any other way that just had to end so that I could figure out what was next. So I felt like I took a summer or probably closer to 6 months to really start discovering like who I am,
Yes.
what my gifts are, and the things that gave me energy, the things that drained my energy, and really like what did I want to be when I grew up. So I was like, how do I do this? Okay, I'm going to start talking to people who I either love their energy and like admire their journey, or I think they love their job and I want to know more about that. So I was just starting to like collect stories of like what are people
Yeah.
doing? What are my options? At the same time, I'm obsessed with like self-assessments and all of that. So like also continuing to do, I had a coach who I was working with and a therapist, and continuing to do that work on like who
Yes.
am I? And then trying to find something that was going to be the next best fit,
Mm.
knowing it wasn't going to be perfect, but just what was the next thing.
I love that you took the time, because when it was so filled with energy, of course you need time to like parse that out and separate it from this was what was and this is what can be. Like we can maybe start a different job, but I don't know if we can create a different energy imprint without space, you know?
1,000%. And I don't even know that I like had words for that. Like as you say that, I'm like, oh yeah, duh. I'm like, I don't think I even fully understood that. I just felt that fire in me, not a good fire. Like my
Yeah.
body was on fire, and I had to get that under control before I could make a healthy decision about what to do next.
Yes. Yes. I love that you did this kind of like, well, taking care of yourself and like allowing the fire to like get soothed and subside.
Yeah,
But then you went on this journey of like, it's just like a little intellectual adventure to like hear from others who were loving what they were doing and how did they get there?
totally.
What did they find? Like, how cool is that as just an option to share with people to like, when exploring something, why not go like just take a pause and hear about other people doing it, you know?
I mean, it was so much fun. In a way, I feel like I do get to do that now working with business owners. But in that time, I was like, how can I make this a thing? Like, I just love talking to people about their jobs, their lives, potentially shadowing some of them, right? Like getting more experience, because how do you know what you want to do and who you want to be until you start to get in there and see it? I still credit some of that like understanding of that discovery to a class that I took in college called Career Explorations, where we came into college and did the whole course for a semester was understanding yourself through assessments and then going out and finding different majors, different schools, different options of like what's available to you at this large university that might be a fit with things that you're interested in or naturally gifted. So I'm like, that's every young person should have the opportunity to do that in college.
And whoa, awesome how you took that and applied it to why shouldn't we do this again and again at career inflection points? Like
Amen.
minute to like consider, discover, assess, and like job shadow. I love that you did that. Like
Right?
we need to just take this as a whole bubble from what you said and make it its own separate chapter. Like you guys,
Yes. So true.
great
Yes.
idea. Like that is real. Why should we not have like an internship job shadowing summer in the middle of our pivots midlife or anytime?
Anytime. Yeah. It's the best use of our time. And I mean, I think about so many of us too, then as we get older and you're maybe feel like you missed out
Yeah.
or I should have gone this direction. It's like people feel like it's so hard to pivot sometimes. I don't think I'm one of those people. But really it's just like go back and look at other things you're interested in. Like you can make it work, but you have to take the time to go back and see what the options are.
Well, and then per like the not outright intention, but then what you did was an opportunity manifested from one of these connection points that turned
Yeah.
into the thing you chose,
Yeah.
which I think
That
is
was
exactly what occurs. Like you meet people, you get inspired, someone else sees it, and then option door opens, you know? So tell us that story, how that turned into
totally.
what it.
Yeah, that was so life-changing. I mean, so there were a couple people who were like pivotal in helping me discover what was next. But one person I was always drawn to was when I had worked in our family business, we had an EOS implementer named Sarah Stern. And her energy, the way she shows up and does life, paired with the tool that she teaches and implements to teams, just so resonated with me that I felt like I don't think she didn't think of herself as a mentor to me, but I would say I always thought of her as a mentor. And so she was one of the people I was like, I got to meet with Sarah. I got to talk to her about what she's doing and what she thinks I should do, because I just love if somebody just tell me what to do, you know? And in our meeting, she sort of asked me some questions that brought me to this realization that I could do what she's doing and I'd be really good at it. And that, like, all of these experiences in my life, in a family business, in mergers and acquisitions, and dealing with business owners,
Mm-hmm.
all of that had set me up to be a great EOS implementer. So I was like, what in the world? I like never crossed my mind. I drove away from that meeting and I remember being like, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that.
I love your natural clarity.
Yes. I like couldn't believe that it took me that long to come to it, but you know, it is what it is. And I'm like forever grateful to Sarah for
Well,
seeing that.
one summer is not that long. You did pretty great, I think.
Right. I
That's
know. Thank you.
that's decent. That's solid. And you get to use the superpowers that you have. Like
Yeah,
you get to like take what's great from all of the experiences and use it there, like your spidey sense, right? But you don't have to, it's not an arrangement where you're not the one who has to solve it, right?
totally.
And you can also practice
And
those inner boundaries and elements that you've learned.
totally. And I honestly think like one of the greatest gifts, I drove away from a meeting one day thinking like, this is the game changers that I'm using a lot of the same skill set I was in my corporate career, but I don't have to work with or for assholes. Like if it's not an energy, if this team is not an energy that I can work with,
Yes.
I now am in control to be like, this is so great, but maybe you should work with somebody else.
Hmm.
And that is the biggest like game changer for me, is that I get to spend time and work with people that I love being around.
And how healthy and like underscoring your new way for your own system to show up and set those lines for yourself,
Yeah,
only when they need to be.
totally.
Say, I can say no here, actually.
Yep.
So our time totally flew by.
I know. This is so fun.
Well, your story has so many elements, like good, rich layers upon layers of the core, wisdom. But
Yeah.
what would you summarize as like the wisdom you gained in this experience?
The wisdom, I guess, two things that stand out to me, if I could sum it up, is one, I have this in my closet as a quote, but like one is be more of who you are. So like figure out who that is. So there's some discovery in there, but like be more of who you are than paying attention to what people want you to be. And then the second thing is that everything that I am looking for or everything that I think I need is already in.
Mhm.
So I'm like, there's a lot to that, but like those are my two biggest takeaways and things I think about on a daily basis.
Yeah, I think that there's some sitting with those that needs to be done for everybody who's listened. I am in so much admiration of you and really appreciate your story. There's multiple unlocks that you've shared here.
Thank you.
Really, really rich and very impressed with how fast you've like turned it all around, and like alchemized and like using what you learned only a few years ago to like be a whole new platform that you are on now, which is really
I'm
beautiful.
like, it is a journey. I don't feel like I have arrived in any sense.
Mm,
And I feel totally okay with that, I'm
mm.
like, I'm going in a direction that feels so me, and I get to show up as me. And I freaking love that.
I love that too. I love that too. You getting to be you with your beautiful art behind you.
Yeah.
Like it's all just part of it.
Thank you.
Oh
Thank
my
you.
God. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Abby, for
Thank
giving
you,
us
Catherine.
a lot to work with, a lot to think about, a powerful chapter, a powerful episode. Wonderful. Excellent. Just can't wait to sit more in this myself and just keep rocking, man. Wow.
Awesome. Thank you, Catherine.
Thank you. And thank you, everyone, for listening. Can't wait to tune in with you next time. Thank you for listening to the Wise Women podcast. You can find the book, Wisdom's Discovery, Finding Your Center at the Edge, on Amazon and barnesandnoble.com. And keep listening to the wisdom that your life is offering you.